So, it's definitely been a little while since my last upload. Totally not my intention, just a side effect of me being lazy. Anyway, and although this MOC is a good display piece on its own, I feel as though another smaller Star Wars MOC could supplement it nicely on my shelf. And that's what I did. Okay, so this MOC was actually started and completed all the way back in December, and actually cameoed in this video here. For those of you wondering why it took so long to produce a video on this MOC, I will refer you to this quote right here. Anyways, on to the MOC. Last summer I went out and bought a few Clone Wars sets and decided sometime after the Mandalorian MOC was made to make a little diorama to display them on, and as you can clearly tell, I did not do that. Instead, I decided to take some inspiration from MOCs like these that I found on Instagram and use that as the new baseline. I started out with a 16x16 base plate, which quickly turned into a 14x14 base because I desperately needed that black border. I also wanted to incorporate a somewhat unconventional geometry into this model to give myself a little bit of a challenge. Starting with the ground, I decided to use a safe brown dirt color while also trying to incorporate this big triangle piece into the base somehow. I was able to accomplish that, but as you can see, it left some holes. As a solution, I decided to use more brown plates, which in turn made the ground look a little more natural. Also, quick side note, while I was working and getting footage for this video and just kind of like looking to see how everything would go, one of these brown plates just snapped, and apparently that's like a new thing that these like brown plates and brown pieces are super weak, so if you do see a crack like that, that's probably what that was. Next step was building up the base, which honestly was nothing too special, just a lot of bricks on top of bricks, pretty typical stuff. While working on this MOC, I wanted to use these three pieces in particular, which were from these two sets, and ironically which were both Star Wars sets. I had a pretty good idea of where I wanted each piece to fit into the model. When it came to the center wall, I wasn't really sure what to do. I knew it would be the wall on display, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it. All I knew is that I wanted it to stand out a little, and I ended up coming up with this. It's nothing special, but it definitely pops out from all the light gray. Next up was the roof on the base. I really just needed some standing room and a slight overhang. That's all I really needed. But once that was completed, I still felt like the base was missing something. And that's where this big brown piece comes in. So I decided to build a little structure to give more depth and personality to the base. Even though the base was complete and the MOC was considered finished in my eyes, it still looked like it needed just a little something more. So I decided to spruce it up by adding some vegetation to liven it up. And might I say, probably the best idea I could have made for this MOC. This MOC is much smaller compared to my others, but definitely looks the best hands down. It's much more displayable and eye-catching than any other MOC that I've made before. And although it didn't become a diorama for the Clone Wars sets that I had bought like I had originally intended, I'm much happier with the final product.